Some call it weed, some call it pot, grass, reefa. But in 3 cities in Michigan and Portland, Maine, they now call it legal. That's right. In a Gallup poll and a Pew study, they've showed that 58% of Americans back legalization, and we now have 2 states that have legalized it, 21 states allowing medical marijuana, and 17 have decided to decriminalize it from recreational to medical. It looks like marijuana is here to stay.
I love this. I'm not even a pot smoker.
I know.
I don't even really, take the time to get a little kush every morning. I don't do that. I'm nice and cool on that.
You're just naturally
I'm
calm
naturally
and cool
calmed
all
out,
the time.
But no, what's great about this is the Gallup poll, that had 58% of Americans, that's actually a 10-point increase from the year earlier. I mean, the legalization and decriminalization of pot is gaining ground. It's a steamroller that everybody's kind of behind, and the fact that Washington and everybody else is kind of dragging their feet on it is shocking, and still convicting people, of this.
Yeah.
I read an interesting report that kind of followed this up about a guy who was in custody for having pot, who ended up dying in custody because he had an allergic reaction.
Right.
He didn't get his medicine time. And so it's like that's the things that like legalizing and getting these people doing this. That's what makes this so important.
It is, and
so
that's
important.
one of those interesting situations you talked about. A story earlier this week where someone was in custody for a ridiculous reason and then was treated poorly while in custody. And during times of these sort of times of tight federal budgets, a lot of people just disagree with this sort of fundamental, robust law enforcement spending. We're putting people in prison, and it's leading to these higher incarceration rates. And everyone has somebody they know who gets busted on some stupid, hey, you had a joint, you had a little bit of this, and
you had some seeds, you had some little, and most of the time it's probably skunky.
I know, I'm like, it's not even good stuff.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just silly when it's something that could not only be supplemental for farmers, you could be, it's medicinal purposes, recreational, whatever you're using it for. If it's for your back or just because you want to chill out, it's not as dangerous as everyone, the proponents try to say.
It's not.
And I believe that finally, almost 100 years after the sort of prohibition of it, we're saying almost 60% of Americans are just like, it's all good.
The American people are speaking. They're speaking in the voting booths. They're speaking, out in the streets. They're saying, we want it. Please, let us have this. Let us make money off it. Let us tax it. They voted for tax on it, I think, in Colorado the other day.
They did.
To say, look, tax the hell out of it. Supplemental income rather than, I would rather get a tax off weed than than taxing, than like the death tax and stuff like that. I mean, there's much, let's get money from different sources. But, and
I'd rather have that than a tax on healthcare or anything like that. Tax
it's hell yes.
Okay.